Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. What exactly is a chamfer plane? What makes it better than a block plane? And do I really need a Stanley 72? Well, let's dive in and find out. Simply put, a chamfer plane makes dados. No, it makes chamfers. You know those 45-degree angle on the corner of a board? Yeah, that's a chamfer. But interestingly enough, you don't need a chamfer plane. Any plane will make chamfers. You just put it on an angle and go along the corner and you get a chamfer. So why in the world would you need one of these? But we're all woodworkers. And that means we all know that you really need an individual tool to do every possible job. That way we can collect a lot more tools. Having one tool that can do it all, a jack of all planes, is really nice because you only need the one tool. And really, with a number 4 or a number 5, you can do 99.9% of all of the planing work you're ever going to need to do. So do you really need specialty planes? And the answer is no. But we're humans and we like to collect them. So today I want to take a look at this. This is the Stanley number 72. So first off, it's a bullnose plane, which means there's a small bit of sole in front of the iron. Second off, you'll see that the sole is, well, this weird grooved 45-degree thing, and that allows it to fit in the corner and shape the chamfer. That way you know that your chamfer will be 45 degrees towards the face and the edge of the board. On the back, there's this knob that you can loosen, and you can move the mouth up and down. So if you want a big chamfer, you move it all the way to the bottom. If you want a really little chamfer, you move it all the way up to the top. And so the higher up it goes, the smaller your chamfer will be. And if you take it up too high, this whole top piece can come off and you're left with the sole and the tote. A really simple design. It's got a sled with a knob on the back and that can fit into here, slide down, and you adjust the depth at which you want your chamfer to be. Unlike with other Stanleys that have the lever, this one actually has the knob design. So you can pull this off, pull that up, and you have a simple iron. No chip breaker needed. It's just an iron that goes in here. You can set it in here, and you'll also notice that there's no lateral adjuster, there's no depth adjuster. It's a very simple plane, just a lot like the old wooden ones are. This means you're going to need to mallet adjust it. So normally you set it retracted, backed up out of the way, and then you bring in your mallet and you tap it until it's right up close to the edge. And then you give it a light tap until it's extended the right amount, and you can tap it side to side for your lateral adjustment. It's actually pretty quick and easy. It takes a little bit of skill, but once you get that down, it's amazing how fast you can actually adjust it without all the knobs and levers. It's kind of a fun way to do it too. As to how big a chamfer, you can actually eyeball down the slot and you can see how much it's sticking up. I can slide that sled in and out to make a really big chamfer or a really small chamfer and set it up exactly where I want it to be. Then once it's set up, we can set it on here and we can go to town making curls, just using it on the corner of the board rather than on the face or the edge. One downside to this design is that your sole initially is only this tiny little bit up here. It's kind of like a spoke shave at the beginning, and so it becomes hard to balance it. It's kind of rocking back and forth, and you got to try and keep the iron engaged. It's a lot like using a spoke shave. For small chamfers, that's not that big of a deal because you can actually register it back here and it still cuts fine. But if you're doing big chamfers and that blade is stuck out, you have a lot of work where you're just balancing right on the tip, and that can get a little bit annoying. So you'll find a lot of these where they've drilled holes through the sole on either side. And that way they could put in a small wooden wedge in here that would then act as a sole so that they would actually have something to balance on, and it would be less of just balancing on the tip. So if you find yourself doing a lot of chamfers at the exact same size, putting in a small wooden sole actually makes it a little bit easier. Now, most of the time, if I'm going to make chamfers, I'm grabbing a block plane. It's just quick and easy to go in here, and you got this. You count your passes, and you know how many you've done, and it can be pretty equal. So if I've done 10 passes, I know that this is going to be very similar to the other board that I did 10 passes on. It's very easy to do that. But my chamfers are never exactly 45 degrees, and it takes a little bit of work to get it on there. Do they have to be absolutely perfect? No. But sometimes you want to do that. And sometimes you're going to be doing a lot of chamfers. When I did my dining room table, I did about 600 feet of 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch chamfer. And in that case, it was really nice to have a chamfer plane that I could just go to town on it and not have to think about it. All of my chamfers were exactly 45 degrees. All of them were exactly the same depth. All of them matched. It was just easy to make this and go. So if I'm making a few chamfers on a couple pieces, the block plane's what I grab. But if I need to do a lot of them, I'm usually going to grab a chamfer plane. Now the Stanley 72 is actually hard to come by. They're rather rare and they're very expensive. And so if you're going to buy a chamfer plane, this probably isn't the one you're going to want. There's lots of other ones out there. But in all honesty, you can make them pretty easily by creating some fences that lock onto your plane. I have a whole video making these fences that actually thread into the size of my custom plane. And with that, I now have a chamfer plane and I can move these fences in and out to change the size of the chamfer I want. And I don't have to go and buy something specific and set up for it. I have something that I can put them on when I need it and I can take them off when I don't. And if I have a big project with a lot of chamfers, it's well worth the time to put those on and mess with it. And other times when I don't have a whole lot of them to do, I just grab the block plane and go to town. I've honestly wanted to buy one of these for a very long time because it's just set up to do it. It doesn't take up that much space. It's nice to have a dedicated tool, so when you need that particular process, you've got the tool that does it. And that's not something you need right off the bat. As I said, you can do it with a block plane, but once you start getting into it and you do a lot of things, it's nice to have a tool that does it well. It doesn't do anything else, but it does that one job well. I have to say a huge thank you to Yang. He is on the Hive Minds and he's a huge supporter of the channel. And he's the one who actually owns this. He let me borrow it for this video because I've never actually gotten up the courage to spend the amount of money it requires to buy one of these. They are relatively expensive. But yeah, they're a lot of fun though. And there are many different types of chamfer planes out there. There's modern ones and there's different styles and shapes and different configurations, and they're kind of fun. But if you're going to find yourself doing a lot of chamfers, getting a chamfer plane can really make it a lot more enjoyable. So there you go, Stanley number 72 chamfer plane. It is a fun little plane, and it is really kind of cool how compact and simple it is to do that same task over and over again. Maybe someday I will find one for myself and incorporate it into my shop, but for right now I have to say thank you, Yang, for letting me borrow this one, and I'll be sending it back to you here soon. On that note, if you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, let me know those down below. I do read through all of them and I learn a lot from there. So thank you. If there's something I missed, something I should have said, let me know. I'm looking forward to reading that. On top of that, if you do comment down below or you hit like, share, subscribe, that does help out the channel. And thank you. That helps us grow. It helps us get in front of more people. It helps the channel, the algorithm. Yeah, even if you put just comment down below, thank you. Also, there are a bunch of names over here, particularly Alex from the top of the list. He is the man, and all of those people on Patreon are supporting this channel. Without patrons, we wouldn't exist. We are completely sponsored by you, the viewer. So whether it be through Patreon or becoming a member here on the channel, clicking the join button down below, thank you. Without you guys, we would not be here. We are completely sponsored by you. You keep the lights on, you keep the channel coming. So if you'd like to find out more about that, you can find out about Patreon or click the little join button down below. And thank you. I think that'll do it for now. Until next time, have a wonderful day. As to the spelling, it doesn't matter what side of the pond you're on or what century you are from, it's spelled with a chamfer.